day of our session of Nurturing Sibling Relationships program. Today on the panel, we have experts and professionals where we will be addressing issues, points, and everything that was discussed on day one and day two of our program. But before we begin, we would like to play a short video on the work that we do at Mitra for Life. I'm happy to introduce the panelists to all of you. Mrs. Akila Vaidyanathan, parent to Nishath, 25, on the autism spectrum, and Nivriti, 19, pursuing her bachelor's degree. Mrs. Akila is also the founder of the Amaze Charitable Trust, founding member Executive Council, Autism Society of India, and she is also a trained psychologist and counselor. Moving on, our next panelist, Nishath Kirmani Ali, parent to Haider, 16 years and on the spectrum, and Hamza, 4-year-old neurotypical kid. She's a special educator herself and Joint Secretary, Autism Society of India. Our next panelist, Mrs. Jayashree Ramesh, Director, ASHA, Academy for Severe Handicaps and Autism, Bengaluru. Moving on, Mrs. Usha Madan, psychotherapist and family and personal counselor, worked with special needs children and families at Deepika School, Bengaluru for the past decade. Happy to have Mr. Piyush Mishra, sibling and co-founder, Saarthi, Sibling Support Network India, and Priyanka Swaminathan, sibling and co-founder, Saarthi, Sibling Support Network India. And today's session will be moderated by Dr. Madhuri Vaidyeswar, homeopath and pediatric neurodevelopment specialist and founder of Mitra for Life. Thank you so much. Over to you, Madhuri.
Yeah, thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. So thrilled to have all of you here. To have so many senior people who've been working in this field for such a long time. Bringing all of you together is really thrilling. And of course, the youngsters who've started working in this field, Priyanka, Piyush, thanks for joining us. We're hoping to, set the context for what we can do in the future along with all of you. So, just one of the things we've been talking about in the past couple of days when we started with the youngsters session, which was amazingly inspiring, motivating, the thoughts they have. It really gave us a lot of ideas as to what can be set up and what needs to be set up in terms of support. And on day two, when we had all the parents, again, they brought a different perspective, the parenting perspective, the challenges when it comes to, teenagers and a couple of kids. So I'd like to start off, I would like to set context with all of you. I mean, when we talk about sibling support at this point in India, what is it that you have seen? What is that you see as the biggest challenge and probably a possibility? Maybe we'll start with the challenge and we'll go on. So yes, whoever would like to start. Uh, Akila ma'am, would you like to start?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest challenges I think in the sibling support is that the siblings often, have a sort of a tentativeness or an anxiety to actually seek out these things. They're already overwhelmed with dealing with the disability on a day-to-day basis. So they just think this is one more thing to do with disability. So that's where, I have a daughter who's a sibling of my son, so that's where that tentativeness is. So yeah, but when it is more like a fun activity, I think that they can do along with other siblings, that's when they connect more. We do adventure camps, we do art festivals, things like that, sort of also equalizes with the person with disability, as well as lets the families and the siblings connect. That's where I've seen the sparks flow and the connections happen for the siblings rather than a formal sort of a platform. They might move on to it later, but at a young age, it has to be through, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think support, the whole definition of the word support has to be something a lot more fun and interactive. And, it's like I tell people, it's like having somebody with chronic diabetes. At one point, you just don't want to do anything other than pop the pill anymore.
Absolutely.
You don't want to talk about walking, you don't want to talk about the diet,
Mm-hmm.
but it has just got to be fun, and something has to be there that makes you want to come back all the time to get support. And I think that is something we need to work on.
And just to add to that, once they connect, they do find, that belonging. And then, then taking it from there is not going to be an issue.
Yes, absolutely. Jayashree ma'am, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, largely from the organizations that we work with. Let me also very categorically say that we don't do a whole lot in terms of sibling work. We focus largely on the child, and then a little bit on the parents. So unless the family comes and asks for that kind of support or tells us there's an issue, we don't really prod, and it's not part of the curriculum. But anyway, before I get into the details, I first of all want to congratulate Mitra for Life for the amazing work you are doing. You're not a school, you're not a center, but trying to bring people together. I think this is really very important because there are very few spaces that really speak about these kind of issues, mostly in terms of inclusion, social inclusion, and fun. So I think great job. And I know Madhuri for many years, but this is really very, very amazing. Nice that you're doing this. So like I said, so we don't, it's not part of the system. So, and many times I feel that unless parents themselves are pretty empowered and are kind of okay with themselves, I don't also see that they are seeking support for the other child in the family. So I guess there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And the question is, I always say, whose responsibility is this child? Is it just the parent, or is it the institution, or is it the government? Is it the community? Is it who's actually responsible for this child? So the ecosystem has to really develop And initiatives like this is, I think, will what pave the way. It'd be great to have a more formal structure to the whole thing. I'll leave the other panelists to speak, so we'll take it forward later.
Yeah, thank you. Usha ma'am, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Mitra for Foundation, Mitra for Life Foundation. As Jayashree was telling, the much needed initiative. Very happy to be associated with that. But I'm happy to say that in Deepika, we have made a small beginning since 3 years, where we have sibling workshops, sibling bonding time and family bonding time. In the beginning of the academic year, only we take families for an outing. And it's just fun-filled day, nothing to talk about their challenges or their hardships, but we make every family interact with other families, so that kind of belongingness starts. They all think they are from the same background, same group. Similarly, we also invite fathers for his separate interactions. We call it as fathers bonding time, and extended family members bonding time, where even the helpers are included, extended families, if they're all staying under the same roof. Because we all know that
Sorry,
a
ma'am, we
special
lost you.
child as our responsibility, we find a lot of ways to address that. So we do have sibling bonding workshops. According to the age groups, we group them below 10 years, above 10 years, and 20 plus. And we do have interactions, and we don't talk much about the sibling on the day, but we try to talk to them about their own feelings, their own emotional challenges or insecurities, what they face. And naturally, or invariably, sometimes very sadly, it ends up with their connection with the sibling child, special child in the family, and how it has affected their feelings. And then we just prompt them, they take it forward. So we are happy to say that we have made a beginning in the direction.
Very nice. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Nishath, would you like to go next?
Yeah, before I begin, Madhuri, congratulations, super sessions, been keenly watching and wonderfully organized, I must say. And, thank you so very much for getting the community together. And then, especially the sibling subject was never addressed this big, and which was actually, it is very big if you actually see it, because it's the immediate family, it's the immediate guardian in charge. And and therefore thank you very much for arranging this, and keep it going. We need this more often, make it. And we have Piyush and Priyanka on board, and I think they should take it up from here and make it more lively, get in touch with families, and uh, uh, it's going to make a difference. So yes, the challenges, my seniors have already spoken about the challenges of siblings. Well, in my case, it's a very interesting age gap of 12 years of Haider and Hamza. Uh, and everybody must be wondering, why did I take 12 years to think of getting another sibling or giving another sibling to Haider? But unfortunately, circumstances were such that, I lost Haider's dad when he was 3.8 years. And at the same time, Haider was getting diagnosed of being autistic. So it was a double whammy for me. And then it was 5 years after that. And then God has been very kind. I remarried, and then I had Hamza. And therefore, it's a very interesting combination of the rapport. And at the moment, at the moment, it's very difficult for me to actually say that, um, how it's going to actually impact Hamza, but I'm already seeing it. And from the panel discussion of the siblings that happened, I can already join the dots together. So like everybody said, that we need more forums for siblings. We need more forums for activities for the special child and the sibling. Um, like Miss Akila arranges these treks. So and Autism Society also is a partner in the Trek for Autism. of NALS, the website of NALS, which organizes treks for special needs families, and which is a wonderful, rare thing. Not everybody does it. Not everybody accepts our children. Not everybody arranges stuff for our children. So that's an extraordinary, exceptional trekking recreational activity that NALS does. And something like that, we need more of that. Even if it's just a 1 day trip or a 2 hour or a 4 hour recreational activity where siblings can bond. So that will be wonderful. And we need more forums, basically, or even just like the parent forum that is going on, we can float out a sibling forum where siblings can join in and chat and get to know more about it. And and basically not feel alone, and that makes a world of a difference.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Piyush, Priyanka, who wants to start? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Mitra for Life, for inviting us. And we are really excited to see sibling initiatives coming up everywhere in India. And it is a much needed area. So, talking about Saarthi, we started Saarthi in April this year. And we have been, so basically, it's a sibling support network, siblings group. And we have been conducting SIPS talk, like giving a platform for siblings to talk to each other. And we have also been working on mental health and on some adult sibling issues like marriage and stuff like that. It's basically, it has been a more of adult siblings group till now. And talking about challenges, I would like to say that like some, not some, many parents have approached us of having young children. Like since we haven't worked on this topic and we are very keen to work on young siblings, कि like तुम्हारा तो ठीक है, like you all are active and responsible, but my son doesn't pay any attention to my other child, like he's just not interested. So how do we create the interest in them? So so we don't have an answer for it yet, like we are just on it. And secondly, I would like to say that if we talk about typical sibling support in India, what we have observed is that it is not exclusively typical sibling support, as in what I have seen with siblings, like it is a very interconnected system. Like there is a parental angle, there is a self angle, and then there is a disabled siblings angle. So it's not in isolation, it's a very interconnected system. So yeah, that is what I want to say. Over to Priyanka.
Yeah. So firstly, thank you, Madhuri ma'am, for having me here. It's wonderful to interact with so many professionals at one go. So with as Piyush said, that when we started Saarthi, we being siblings ourselves, when we started interacting with other siblings in the group, one thing I realized is that when it comes to challenges in India, the thing is that the need for a peer support group outside of your family, your relatives, cousins, and your immediate social circle, to build a social circle even beyond that and call it as a sibling support group, the need for that is still to sink in. So when I talk to a lot of siblings on the platform, they feel that, oh, we speak about our issues to our mom, our didi, our neighbor, or someone, but it never clicks them that why can't we connect with another typical sibling who is going through the same set of issues. And also they're very image conscious, or they think twice to discuss about taboo topics, or even though we have created a community, or everyone now is putting in efforts to build a community for siblings, but many times siblings tend to be conscious of who this message would reach, whether their parents would tell them something, whether their friends would suddenly get to know that, oh, your sibling is disabled. So they're very conscious of the reaction. They're very conscious about when they talk about any taboo topic. So I think these are I would say starting challenges which we are facing when we have to build a sibling community.
Also, somebody asked me, like when I described about Saarthi, like it's a sibling support network. So somebody told me, like, is it even required? Like, why it is required at all, like for siblings. Then I told her about, no, like we have to go through, we have to see our life and our aging parents and also our disabled siblings. So it's quite a challenge in the adult end and even in the young end, in the school going end. So that was the question which was thrown to me at a point of time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we're really looking at here is, is multifactorial. One, I think the underlying thing is that culturally or socially, we are not used to asking for support.
Right.
I mean, the whole mental health scenario or the wellness scenario, until there is a problem which cannot be dealt with, we are not going to go and ask for help, because the minute I reach out to a counselor or a support group, then it means there's something wrong with me, right? So that is one attitude that has got to change socially. And the other thing that really came out with all the observations were, I think this support network for siblings is invariably going to be tied with two topics. One is inclusion and the other is creating awareness, right? Because it's all going to go hand in hand. Where we say we will support a sibling, it invariably brings in the complexity of what have we done to help their friends really understand. Have we done something to get colleges or schools to take up awareness, or the whole disability and inclusion as a topic? And so this is something I would like to hear comments on. I mean, have we done enough, and what can we do?
Madhuri, can I add a
Yes,
point here?
please go ahead.
Yeah, see, it is a kind of Indian social value, as I said, cultural value, that everything, whatever the challenges we have, it should be within the family. We are not very comfortable sharing our family things, struggles with outside. It was okay when there were joint families. Okay, there used to be a lot of people around, so it was a kind of a support, indirect support system. But now we have shifted from joint families to nuclear families, but we are still hanging on to the old value that it should be within the family. So it means only the siblings and the parents are stuck in that ecosystem. So we need to change this social outlook also, that as the family size decreases, the support system also decreases. So we need to be mentally prepared, socially prepared, and it should not be stigmatized if a family member or a sibling or a parent wants an outside support. So we need to make a tremendous change of our, concept about family values, cultural values, and all that. I think we need to work on this also.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
So
Akila,
I'd
please.
like to just share from personal experience. I remember coming back from the US, and my daughter was in grade 2 or 3, and she was very comfortable talking about her brother's autism. She was 7 or 8 at that point, but she found that in her school in India, nobody knew about it. And we had moved to Coimbatore, which was a second level sort of city, second tier city. So I went up and I talked to the principal and requested that there be some interaction for the school children with disability. So they started inviting my son's school for Navratri, for various things. And and that's how her school got to know about disability, and then she could talk about it to her friends. And when I said, shall I come and talk to the children before we bring the children from my son's school, she said, no, let Nivriti explain everything. So that sort of thing, like we often strive to find an inclusive school for our child with disability, but are we striving to make spaces that our neurotypical child goes to more inclusive? That is something I always looked at. And the other thing is also, personally, we always connected with a few families like ours who have similar age siblings, so that she has a few friends that she could talk to about this. So simple things like that would help the sibling to, I feel, feel more comfortable, and also increase the circle of influence and awareness. I mean, even within the family, to increase that circle of influence and awareness, where cousins and second cousins, everyone is feeling a little bit more comfortable talking, like at a wedding or something. Then we take all the kids out on a trip, say, because they can't stay at the wedding the whole time. My son can't stay. So we take all the kids. So, do a little outing in between the two functions or whatever. So, all those kind of little things is what, makes, we all talk about what we need to do, but how do we do them is what I wanted to share more. That the little things matter a lot more than,
Yes.
we've done, like we've had, right, Jayashree, from day one, we try to have formal forums, societies, formal stuff going on. But what really worked is informal. Everybody still remembers the picnic we did to Woodridge. There are parents, if they are here from 20 years ago, we just did a picnic to a place, and families remember that more. So siblings remember, the connection happens there more. So again and again, I think the small things matter in creating the awareness and inclusion. Of course, these sort of discussions help bring things out, but the actual work happens.
Absolutely, I agree. I think what we have also seen is, yes, 2019, we did a lot of the outings, like you mentioned. We did some treks, we did a lot of weekend things along with some college volunteers, and we've always maintained a one-on-one ratio. So if we had 20 special needs kids, then it would always be 20 volunteers. We ensured that happened. And the interesting thing was at one of the sports camps we had, which went on for about 3-4 weeks, one of the siblings who came along with one of the participants, initially the parents said, we really can't have him sitting at home, so do you mind just taking him on? And we said, sure. We said, let him be. Let's just get him to work with one of the other, special needs children, not his own sibling. And very interestingly, the parent came back to us a week later and said, he was really cribbing to show up the first few days, and then now he's actually eager. And at the end of the 4-week program, they actually reported saying he's being nicer to his sister. So I think what made the difference there was to look at his peers. Look at, you see other college kids who are not related in any way to special needs showing up and being so energetic and active and sort of giving that respect, if I may use that word. And I think that really changed something for him. So this has been something we've been wanting to do, involving more siblings. So Jayashree ma'am, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I have 2 points. One is, I feel we'll see better acceptance and more support and more cooperation coming forward when the parents, have kind of accepted it, are more grounded, and what is the kind of language they are speaking within the 4 walls. What are they saying, and how it is. I'm not saying that it's very easy to be very positive and accept the challenge and all, because I'm sure this is a huge difficulty. It's a chronic issue, and it's not going to be easy. But the more if they are open about talking how they feel, and even if it is feeling down, to express that, so that the other child in the family also understands that there's really nobody to be blamed. This is a situation that we have, and we have to kind of work towards the whole thing. Then I think the child will get the message, somewhere. Because the families that we have seen where we find that the parents are very, talking about it and trying to solve issues, we find that the sibling is much more participative in the whole process. On the other side, when we talk about schools, the mainstream schools, unless they open doors and say, yes, we will start taking in children with special needs. It could be children with learning disability, ADHD, mild autism, whatever, at least they make it very open and then say, yes, this is what we want to do, and this is the kind of program we are going to put together. Because I know how much Akila struggled with every school, she went and she tried to create awareness and talk to the, administrators and did the programs herself. It may not be possible for that to happen individually from every family, but if there is a system, because we're talking about all of these laws which are very progressive. But what happens is, in most of the schools that we see who accept children with special needs are really not talking about it openly, are not really beating their chest and say, hey, we are doing something good. There's a value in what we are doing. It's like always a hush hush. Yes, yes, we have. And if there's one other parent complains, and then, this child gets chucked out of the school. So that is a mixed message that we are giving to the other children, saying that it is not okay to have this kid, but we know he's there because of some compulsion. And if there's something that he does wrong, then, you get chucked out. So, in terms of talking about tolerance, in terms of talking about inclusivity, it's not just with special needs. How many schools or how many teachers are actually equipping the children to accept diversity? Today we are talking of diversities and inclusion in so many aspects, whether it is gender or sex or abilities or whatever it is. But where is the space and where is the actual, thinking for these kids? So um, this is a country with very complex problems, and any kind of a change where we really have to make an impact in the way people think is going to take time. It's going to really take time. A law will not make the difference. For many years, I kept thinking that no, we should have a good law, we should have a policy, we should have things. Then I realized that yes, we can have that, but ultimately who's implementing it on the ground? Unless there is a mindset change there and a way to work around it, these changes are going to take a long time. But what I'm glad is that, see, many young siblings are coming out, groups have been formed. Today, many people may not feel the need, but I'm sure, once they see the benefit, this is going to really, happen. This is our conversations really we need to keep having in different spaces. It's a lot. We have a good start though.
Yes, yes, absolutely, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to
Yes.
echo the same thing. I mean, giving my personal example, when Heather was diagnosed in 2008, 2009, we didn't even have a smartphone then. It was just a regular phones then. We didn't have WhatsApp groups. We did not have, even if there was parent support groups, we weren't informed about it. There were very few centers, the popular centers that we went to for assessments or therapies or whatever, whenever we needed it. So but and when Heather was diagnosed, my parents, my extended family, like I said, it was, that particular time I was going through a very emotional phase of losing a spouse, and then at the same time being a double parent to my son, and knowing and not knowing what to do. I mean, at that particular time, he was verbal, but there was very limited language. So at that particular time, everybody didn't know what was happening, but they supported my decision. They trusted my decision, being a mother. And I had to move from California, and then, and coming to India actually made a difference, because the acceptance level is much higher up here, and everything is not looked at theoretically. I'm sure Akila ma'am would relate to me in a lot of ways, because life and culture and approaches are pretty, opposite. The thinking, the approaches. Now, yes, the global exchange, and a lot of global crowd is in and out, and now we have smartphones, we have forums, and where we can discuss at a larger thing, and we can accept cultures, know about the thinkings, and actually decide as to and analyze, oh yeah, that thinking could be right, this could be wrong. What we've been doing for years could be absolutely wrong for our child, and let's just accept something that is new. So what? So this is coming to the generation now. And then at that particular time itself, I never hesitated to take either to any of the get-togethers, any family functions, any religious functions, and because I said, if I don't take him to different kind of situations at different kind of places, how will the a child learn how to react? If you don't take him to a restaurant, how would the child know how to eat with a fork and spoon, for example? If you don't take him to a wedding, how would he know what a wedding is? And how would he even initiate or even learn the social skills? So I took him everywhere, even to my extended family. And then, very rightly said by Jayashree ma'am and Akila ma'am that, families and the perspectives of the parents and the extended family needs to change. Having laws and having big names, big centers doesn't make a difference. But unless the mother, more so the mother, the parent, both the parents, I would say, you have to work as a team. Unless they change their attitude and their approach, it's okay if my son is having behavior issues outside. It's okay. And it's okay to, many a times if Heather was just screaming at a restaurant or a party get together, I would say yes, he basically cannot take sound. In very lame terms, he's not expressive as you and me. He's special, so let's just give him a space, but still took him along everywhere. So you got to make the effort. And every family, I always encourage parents to take and involve your special child, the sibling, everywhere, wherever you go. Expose them to as much as you can, because sometimes they surprise you. They surprise you, the way they behave, the way they react. And it's amazing when you actually, and it becomes life when you make it your life. Then the pressures are much lesser. When you take them and make your special child a part of everything, it really makes a difference. So I would encourage everybody, every special parent, to do that. And then now, since we have technology, we uh, uh, we have forums like Saarthi, and we have discussions like this from Mitra for Life. I mean, we have so much more out there to choose. And I'm sure after listening to the webinars and listening to a lot more virtual discussions globally, the mindset of parents, the extended family, has been changing. It's coming there, it's getting there. It's just that we need to work as a community. And then even during the World Autism Awareness programs, and we've always been harping that our programs happen within our community. We all know what is autism. It needs to happen outside. Like we had a flash mob one of the years of on the World Autism Awareness Day. And then people actually came to know about what autism was, at least the word autism. We had it on the MG Road Boulevard. Jayashree ma'am was a part of it as well. All of a sudden we had neurotypical children just dancing to the tunes, and then we had our banners, World Autism Awareness Day. So things like that, it is happening up there. Yeah, of course. Now, the pandemic has really changed perspectives and given a break for everything happening. But yeah, we have to begin right from our home. Before you light the street lights, put the light in home.
Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Piyush.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true that acceptance is going from 0 to 1, and what parents set in their home environment definitely sets the mind of the sibling. So that is very much true. I agree. And at the same time, there is another point that, like my brother Punit, who has autism, is first my brother. As in, I don't see the autism or Down syndrome for many siblings. Like and unlike many siblings, I have fought with him, played with him, done everything, like never treated as specially as such. So that is another angle. And talking about, everything boils down to communication between the parent and the sibling. How much open communication is there? And it has to be two ways. It's not like, maybe I'm a sibling and I might be expecting that parents should pay attention to me, but at the same times, as we grow, like now that we are adults, we also have to check whether our parents are okay or not. It has to be two ways. Sab kuch parents karenge aisa bhi nahi hai, like that's not the way it should be. And parents expecting, like many people have asked us that whether parents should expect something from the sibling. Like, is it not wrong? Don't they have their own life? So this is a question, like controversial question sort of. Like, they do have their life, we all have our lives, but at the same time we must also empathize with parents. We must also understand their point of view. So this was the second thing that I wanted to tell. The third thing is, one of the things we really neglect, which I feel is the school years, the initial years. Because on the day one, first of all, congratulations to Mitra for life. It was a wonderful session of all the young siblings, and I related it to it so much, because what happens is during school years you just stack many things inside, and you feel that nobody will be able to understand my point of view, like my friends, so I better not speak. Like, this was me back in school. This was Piyush. So the support is also needed there, because what patterns we set in our childhood definitely dictate the adulthood. I feel we need to have some kind of support in that space also, school years, and not just the adult years. Like, thanks.
So yeah, so when it comes to inclusion and awareness aspect of it, I look at it from two points of view. One is, what am I doing as a sibling in my house, within my household? So where I felt that a key thing was that my parents never forced acceptance of my sister's neurological or her developmental disorder condition, or and they gave me the choice of participation. I think that is very crucial, because when you're trying to teach the neurotypical sibling about how they could go about managing their own routine and also be a part of their disabled siblings life, giving that space is essential, and I think that's what worked in my favor. So doing I mean, parents can also encourage this typical sibling to kind of pick up a few activities or something to do with the disabled sibling on a day-to-day basis. So what happens eventually is that then the typical sibling starts gaining interest, and they also sit down to plan as to what can be done for their brother or sister. And I've seen in so many cases that the typical siblings are the one who encourages them to, say, set up a small bakery, or encourage them to start doing painting. They are the one who set up an enterprise for them, create a income source for them. So I think that's the way you can uh, take it when you look at within the house. And as far as when it comes to interacting outside the house, I feel that you know as typical siblings, we are already aware of what is autism, what is Down syndrome, what are the nitty gritties, what will my brother or sister do when he's aggressive, sad, happy. I know all this, but then when I step out and tell my friends these things, or my teacher, or any other colleague, they are simply unaware. So there is a gap. And so therefore I feel that as siblings, we are the first step to inclusion for our disabled siblings. Like, even if my mom tells my friends, it can sound very preachy. They might be like, "Arey, your mom is just advising us." But if I go and tell them that this is how it is, this is what is autism, this is how you're supposed to be, that sets a completely different tone. So I think as siblings, we should not be embarrassed at all. You should take your disabled sibling to parties, to birthday parties. I used to take my sister along for birthday parties. I still take her to malls. Let people stare at you, let them ask you questions. But if you, as a typical sibling, stand up and reply back to them, the kind of image it creates is 1,000 times much better than your mom or dad standing there and answering for you. I think that itself will pave the way for inclusion and awareness.
Absolutely. I mean,
I just wanted to
sure,
add
sure.
one point
Yeah.
here, Madhuri. Sorry for butting in. We do expect a lot from the parents. The parent needs to know how to manage this child who's, I mean, it's like they don't know they wouldn't have probably not known about it before, and then suddenly it's there in front of them. So they're all over, going back to college and learning about this. And then we're saying, okay, there's a sibling. Now you have to make sure that the sibling is okay. And you have to play the psychologist to say, okay, how am I balancing with this, and your own guilt and your own fears and your own emotions. It's not easy for the parent, I mean, and then always somebody is always going to be blaming. If you do too much to the sibling, you'd say you're not taking care of your special kid. If you do a lot to the special kid, the other one will say you're not taking care of me. And there's always resources, you have to share it with so many things, and there's a lot of expense with this special kid also. So greatly if parents realize that they need to get the right support from the beginning. Talk to few people, talk to the others, talk to professionals, and just say, okay, just guide me on what I can do. Even it could be an experienced parent who has done, because at every situation in life, when the child is young, there are issues. When it hits puberty, there are issues. Later, when the sibling is going to go away for education, higher education, you're back to square one. And then, like he said, there's marriage and other things to look at. So there are going to be multiple issues. Families are very dynamic. Parents again and again, I feel, need really good sounding board. So I think the network, I think, really helps.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. I agree. So one of the things we've looked at in the past couple of years when we put the parent support program together, which is what we really started with, the whole idea was when I was talking to a lot of families of teenagers, special kids with who were in their teenage. I really felt that, rather than talk to 4 or 5 different professionals, what they needed was to hear from a couple of parents who'd already, passed that phase, right? Because then that feedback would be, very valuable. Because I would see this in my consultations. I would try and tell a family something for 6 months, why your 16-year-old needs to sleep in their own bed, right? Why they need to be separated, why do they need their independent skills? And there would be no response. And suddenly overnight they would say, yes, we did it, and I would say, what changed? And they would say, I was outside the school gate and I was just chatting with this other parent and they said this is what worked for them. And then I said, absolutely. So, I always say this, I set up the parent forum for very selfish things. I said, I don't want to sit and talk to 7 families about the same thing. It's going to be much quicker if we get them in a group and get them to share, right? And I think, we also, we have a saying around this, right? We say, and advice from an old patient is so much more valuable than a new doctor, right? We have this in Kannada, and I think it's absolutely true, right? So that's what we've tried to work around. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about is, so it's very obvious. I mean, we know that the support is required. Now, both the parent and the sibling the family needs to sort of want this support. And again, they need to have the commitment to keep coming back to support. When I was doing the sibling session day before yesterday, we talked about it. And I said, okay, now all of you are saying, this support is great. I want to do more of this. But it takes a lot of commitment to keep coming back, and then talking about it. Because over the weekend, even if we say twice a month or something, typically everybody wants to chill and not go back and talk about the same thing, right? So I think what we are looking to do, or what we have tried to do, is really not look at it as support, but more of a fun coming together. I always say, Mitra for Life, we've always tried to be a mashup of, Rotary, a kitty party, and a support group. The support group comes at the end, because the whole aim is to get everybody in one forum having fun, bonding, because then the support comes very naturally, right? We don't start with support as the serious topic, right? So when we look at building this for siblings on one hand, parents on one hand, I would like to know, what is the role that organizations can play? What is the role that special schools can play by? I'm sure we're looking at a collaboration, right? If we can all sort of get together and play our roles and bring it together, I'm sure this is something that can fall in place in the near future. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about this.
You want me to go on that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please. Yeah.
Akila knows, Nisha knows. For the longest time, we have been trying to create a solid parent network. Parents coming together and talking about their issues and trying to solve issues. I don't know. Some groups have become very active and they're doing extremely well. Some groups have yet to pick up. There is a worldwide movement now to bring carers together and look at the issues of the carers, and there's a lot of well put together data after careful surveys and stuff as to what is the burnout and why that has to happen. Yes, like you said, either a parent network or a sibling network, unless the person participating feels that there is something in it for me, and I'm getting something out of being a part of this group, then the group will not be bubbly and it will not happen on its own. It'll be like you'll have to keep calling the 10 people who are supposed to come and say, are you joining today? Are you coming today? We know how it is. We've all gone through that. We still go through. So I guess it is a difficult thing to really figure out why, it's not so easy to bring, whether it's a sibling group or the parents group. You can, you can organize fun events, you can organize lectures, you can, have any kind of a thing. It feels very good for that one event. And then, again, by the time you come back, it's all over. You have to have the effort to bring the group back together. So, because I think in our community, like we already talked about it, I think we are getting our support elsewhere. So it's not primarily this group that is going to be supported. There's always already somebody there to help out. Or, we have immense capacity to keep everything within. So, the husband brings it out on the wife and the wife brings it out on the husband, and, and then, okay, we shut it, we go about in the day. So that's another thing. And the third thing I feel is, I don't know whether it is just the Indian mentality or the Indian community. Like a little bit of chalta hai. It's okay. I mean, it's our, our fate. We got to deal with it. Why do you want to go and, tell anybody? It's our problem. We'll deal with it. We'll go through with it. So that kind of an attitude. So really, take the reins in your hand and find the solution and, let's bring. That is still, I think, lacking, because we are not there ready to talk about our problems out in the public. And fourth, very important, is like, if services like this was easily accessible, there's a support group in this area, there's something else happening closer by, and that makes it a lot of difference too. Because when I want to access it, it should be easily available to me. Because if I have to schedule it and go so far away and leave my child somewhere, go and attend this meeting, come back and think, then I'm not going to be able to do it. As it is, I'm, overly burdened in our thing. So I think it's a combination of factors. And somebody has to still keep doing. So you go on, hitting the nail on the wall, you'll definitely make a dent. And keep talking about it thing. And especially in support groups, I feel if there's a huge age difference in the children, issues don't get addressed. So because young parents have young children, their issues are different from older parents and older children. So I think a lot of thought has to probably go into this. And finally, I will tell one thing is that we need a little bit of discipline in ourselves too. So if I make a commitment that I'm going to attend a support group meeting or I'm going to enroll somewhere, then I must make the commitment to do that. Yes, I have a child with special needs. Yes, I am burdened and everything. But there is somebody out there trying to help, and I must, stick to that, which I don't see in many families. Somewhere they say it is okay not to go for the meeting. It's okay not even to inform that I'm not coming. See, that is not done. So I think that's a little bit of a discipline that I think we need to bring into ourselves also, whatever may be the problem.
Can I add a point here?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. One more thing is family, particularly parents, they don't realize the significance of having a parallel support system before even they put the children to schooling. So as a result of this, what happens, the mother not only manages a special sibling, she has to attend all these forums, meetings, school interactions, everything is on her head. So when it comes to the neck, it is almost, I can't do it anymore. Then she collapses, or then she starts searching for the support system. By then it will be too late. So somewhere the moment a special child is born in the house, mother has to realize that it's okay to have a special child. It is not in my hands to change it now. But what are the other ways of taking care of the child? And also I keep up my energy to be intact so that, I take care of myself and my child. In the whole process, if you look at me as a counselor, I've seen parents feel guilty to have their own rejuvenating times, me time. The concept doesn't exist at all. They feel guilty to even sleep for 5 minutes. I don't know from where we have, kind of given these values to mothers, that a mother is always a sacrificial goat. And if you do anything for yourself, you are a selfish person. They don't understand there's a lot of thin line between self-care and selfishness. Mothers don't even understand self-care is very, very important. As a result of this, even the neurotypical kids, if you look at them, they get all these values and beliefs looking at the parents. They also at times feel guilty to enjoy their life just because they feel being a sibling of a special child, I should not do this, then I am selfish. So we need to, the moment any special child comes to school, we need to start counseling the mother, telling that, okay, you have a special child, but the moment you have the first child, you have 23 hours only, where the rest of the people have 24 hours. That 1 hour is for you. And if you have a special child, you have 22 hours and 2 hours is for you. Because only when you invest 2 hours in taking care of yourself, you can give it back to your children. Otherwise, it is like, a water jug which goes on giving water to thirsty people. One day it becomes empty, isn't it? So we need to start making the parents, particularly mothers, to believe and understand and accept, I have a right to take care of myself, my emotional needs, my recreations, without feeling guilty, so that I can give it back in double dose, levels to my family back. If we start with that counseling aspect, then the whole family doesn't feel guilty, or that they don't feel we have a compromise just because we have a special child in the family. Okay, we have a special child, they are different, but we need to support them. We don't need to sacrifice our lives for them. So as a result of that, I think the whole dynamics changes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Akila, go ahead.
Yeah. You're right, Usha and Jayashree, that the mother needs to be empowered. But who is going to bell the cat? Who's going to empower the mother? I've been at that space where, I could not find respite for my child. I could not find, help at home, because everyone would, tell me I'm the best person to deal with the kid. And that would be the easiest excuse to give. So I think since the question was from an organizational point of view, what can be done? I think if you're running anything to do with special needs, you're running a school, a center, whatever, please do offer at least, an hour's respite. But then the mother can take that, if the mother knows the child is safe at this space and is going to be, in fact, happier at that space than at home, then I would happily, I had to create that system, in fact, for my son eventually, because he is a person with high support needs. So I would take other kids on a outing without their parents, but I had no volunteers for my son, because it is difficult to engage him. And so I had to create a whole support system, and then I got my space. So that is something that every center and school should offer if they want to empower the mother. And the next step would be then to allow them, many of the centers and schools are not open, and they don't allow the parent inside in the sessions, know what's going on. So that itself causes a lot of guilt and anxiety, because, if you don't know the best ways to handle your child, then that's where the anxiety is stemming from. So I would say that is another big request to organizations to become more open. And so, they can take then the techniques back and they can teach the rest of the family. So it's not something that just happens behind closed doors. So you are empowering the whole system. And the third thing would be to offer the counseling, as you said rightly, to if right from day one, to give the mother, because mother or the father, I'm not being gender, but in about 95% of the cases, it's the mother who takes the lead caregiver role. So to give that person enough support in terms of actual psychological counseling, rather than just and of course the fourth step would be, of course, if there are activities and stuff that brings the network together, the parent support group. Many Many organizations don't want the parents to network because they think they'll gang up against the management. I'm just being very forthright here,
That is
that
sad.
does this also does happen. And are we ready to do that? And to even when we're doing some events which are open to all, there is a law to not look at outcomes specifically for ourselves or the organization, but the fact that we are creating, we are being creating that social network which will then accumulate over years to explode into this community that will be connected, uh, to be able to be magnanimous, take that step without expecting the ROI, as you call it, immediately from whatever efforts are being put. So it takes all those things, at an organizational level. I'm just speaking only at an organizational level, and I'm speaking as a parent here.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I echo everybody's thoughts. And just adding to that, yes, it's going to be a blessing where centers can offer respite. What if children are not going to centers? You have to create some kind of a respite within your immediate family. Like personally, I have made it a point that Heather goes to his grandparents' house on weekends. I have always also harped on parents making their children independent in their basic living. Unless you do that, you won't be able to leave them anywhere around the corner. Even your spouse wouldn't be able to handle them unless you actually
Okay.
make your child independent in the basic hygiene, basic eating, independence in eating, hygiene, personal care, or just these basic things. Of course you have to. And once this is in place, you can at least leave them for about 2 hours or 4 hours. So now, by God's grace, Heather is so independent that weekends, Friday evenings, he's at my mom's place. It has been a routine, and they all know that he cannot step out of the routine unless there's a get together happening or a change in routine, change in schedule. I have to prepare him much earlier, saying that today, this Friday, this weekend, you're not going to be going to Nani's house, maybe next Friday. So then he's much prepared and he accepts it. But that Friday to Sunday morning or Saturday evening is a great respite for me. I get the time to work with my second child. I get to do my stuff. I get to concentrate on my NGO, the Autism Society, just my me time, or even just do nothing. That is so very important for the parent to rejuvenate. Every parent knows that. Even 5 minutes or even a half an hour of respite time makes a difference for you to get back into the warrior mode and get going with your routine. So that is very important. Unless you actually let go, how would you know how the child will react? If you're going to hold on to your rigidity and fears, no, I don't know whether he's going to be safe or not. Yeah, of course, make the environment safe, make sure he's occupied, make sure maybe the first time you sit up there with him, wherever you're leaving him for respite, you sit up there and you give him the chores. After this, you're going to follow instructions and you're going to do this and make sure he's safe. Yeah, but after that, you got to tell yourself to let go. Yes, I got to take this risk. Unless you do that, how will you be at peace and how will you let go of your child? And how will he know how to react with others, how to behave with others other than you? I feel it's a break for him also from me, from the instructions of from whatever the way, whatever approach I have with him. It's a break for him too. He just needs to be, now since he stepped into the teens, he needs his me time too. And I cannot be treating him like a robot. So that is so very important for the parents to actually tell themselves and somewhere down the line let go. And only when you do that will you actually create situations where the child can also learn how to live without you. So yes, of course, special centers need to actually create that respite space for parents. It's a must. Have more transparency, definitely, like Akila ma'am said. You have to gain the parents'
Okay.
trust. And I know schools which like Akila ma'am said, that do not let parents interact. because they don't want the same feedback. They don't want the ganging up, and be on the same page, and want basically what their child is entitled to. They don't want to enhance their expertise to cater to the needs of the child. And when parents discuss, that obviously becomes the schools or the center's duty to provide that, whether they like it or not. So I really want to request all centers and center heads, whoever are watching this webinar, to actually open your minds, open doors with transparency, and gain the trust of parents. And that'll get you more children on board. Look at the business aspect of that. So that's about it.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Priyanka answer.
No, you go ahead.
Acha, okay. We both are passing the question to one another. So,
Okay.
like talking about organizational point of view, I think that the intent of what we are doing should be very clear. As in, when we talk about collaborations and collaborating with other organizations and working together, we should not lose sight of the intent, the primary purpose of why we are doing this. That is what I want to say. And then talking about community, I feel that even though a network is required, but at the same time, even the local chapters are required. In the sense, it's not just not all things need to be virtual. Physical engagement is required. Although we are in a COVID era and like we haven't been able to do much of physical engagements, only 2 or 3 we have done at Cafe Urban Mumbai. But what I feel is that more physical engagements are also required. And not only the typical sibling support, the normal heads like future planning, marriage support and stuff like that, mental health, but at the same time, if there is a situational thing, for example, my mother gets admitted to hospital and my father has to rush there, so I be with my brother Punit. So this is the general pattern. But sometimes there is a need that even I am not there at my home, or even I need to go to hospital due to some other emergency. So can I have another friend as a sibling who can just look for some hours, like something like that. So on ground things are also required, more than the general outlets we have right now, which is WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook or Instagram. So those are there, that will be there, but at the same time the physical things are also required. So that is what I want to say.
So what I would like to add is from personal experience. That is, so although schools and vocational centers and therapy centers have slowly started approaching siblings, and they have started creating WhatsApp groups for them. It's a good start, I would say. But something which I have experienced as a sibling is that whenever I used to accompany my sister to all the therapies and occupation OT sessions and speech therapists, I used to just sit there and keep looking at her do whatever the plan is given. Then my mom used to, very pay attention to every detail, note it down. Then she used to go to the next session, and the cycle continued. But what I was doing was just observe. So instead of that, we could probably just break that cycle and probably, hand over a home plan even to the sibling. They could have their own way of doing it. We need not put targets and make it very serious, because obviously the sibling is also having their own life, milestones like school and college, etc. But I think that would have been a much better way in which I could have engaged with my sister, because most of the time I was probably just interfering in my mom's home plan targets. I was like, no, why don't you try like this? Then obviously then she would get very agitated, like, no, the therapist has told me like this. So probably we could break that whole chain and do something like that. That could be an interesting thing to look forward to. And as far as the community is concerned, I feel that a lot of siblings who I have interacted with, surprisingly, I thought they would come and just say that they're seeking mental support, or they want to just look at other siblings' journey or experience. But it didn't stop with at that point. They also wanted resources for their disabled sibling, just like their parents. So I was very surprised that they have picked it up from their mom or dad. They've it's just intuitive. The moment they interact with another sibling, they're like, oh, what is your brother doing? Oh, he's going to this school. Okay, give me the number. Then they'll go back to their parents and discuss. So whenever we're creating a sibling community, we should not exclude that aspect. We should not just focus on providing support for them. They might keep looking for resources even for their disabled sibling, and that is fine. That is okay to that is okay. And lastly, I think when we are creating a sibling community, we should not decide on what is important to them or what is affecting them. I think when you do that, you kind of cut off the communication and you're just deciding yourself like what is important in a sibling's life or what could they be facing. Instead of that, probably this it should be more of a consultative approach. Like all the siblings should get together and they should discuss like what are the pressing issues in their life. If any particular support group decides on themes and then starts doing it, it kind of backfires because then you're completely not involved in that sibling's life. You don't know what's going on, so you have taken that call all by yourself. So that point where we said that need to keep coming back to the community for support, I think that would get established when we start having a more consultative approach and we give them the chance to come ahead and they conduct sessions instead of professionals and other experienced siblings.
Absolutely, absolutely. I
Like
think,
adding on to what Priyanka said, like we should not decide the themes and stuff like that. So we have been doing like when we did the marriage session, it was a very hot topic. Like it is a very hot topic, like marriage of siblings. What about that? And so we had a lot of participation in that month, November. Like everybody was charged up and stuff like that. At the same time, we also knew that we have to also look at the disabled sibling support, like resources they're asking. So we took up the topic of sexual concerns and safeguarding from abuse, which was a pretty heavy month. Like there were topics, even we even went to the extent of questioning what happens in the residential centers, and we did the session on that. But we understood that not all siblings might require that kind of heavy stuff, that information. And that is what Priyanka was saying. Like you need to check, like it should be more consultative.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So, in fact, I think what was my takeaway from day before yesterday's session when we interacted with the siblings was also the fact that I think we underplay how much the sibling gets pushed into a caregiver role, either earlier on or eventually for sure, especially with the lack of some social support that exists. The West already has your co-living homes and so much more support. But I think in our setup currently, what I found was the siblings were stepping into these caregiver roles and they pretty much had the same issues, or they required as much support as the parent does, if not more, right? That was one thing. And the other thing, which I also wanted to bring up, which Priyanka brought up, was, see, I started seeing the sibling in a completely new light after that conversation we had day before yesterday, which was the fact that they're not just looking for support, right? It's not just about support. I feel if we can get this network together, it can become a huge resource, both for awareness, for coming up with solutions. Like I was telling them, I said, we still talk about, my generation will also still talk about technology as being a thing apart from us, right? But for all the teenagers, somebody in their 20s, technology is like breathing, right? It's just so a part of them, right? So I think they can become this amazing resource. I asked this question for whoever of you watched the program. Right at the end, I said, asked all the siblings if they were just for a day head of an organization and you had unlimited resources, what is the one thing you would do? And I was just blown away by the fact that they'd already thought about this, right? And the answers they came up with. So so this was something I wanted to discuss. I think we can actually cultivate, on one hand, while we're supporting them, if we can just create a community of the young siblings, say teenagers and early 20s, they can become an amazingly empowered resource who can go out there, because talk to colleges, talk to schools. I agree with Priyanka when she said, I think it's a lot more valuable coming from that youngster. And if I think about the scenario where, a kid, say a teenager, 10th grader, walks up to their school management and says, hey, listen, I have a sibling. Now I want to introduce this concept to school. What do you think? Right? I'm thinking schools are going to be more open. Right? I mean, yes, it's going to take some change. It's going to take a lot of effort, all of that, absolutely. But I think they can be amazing ambassadors for this change we're looking for, right? So what, again, coming back to the organizational perspective, what can we do to sort of bring them together, and can we all network, bringing our own resources on board, create this sibling network and allow them to go out there and do work. I was even thinking about it from the perspective of the way we have IT venture capitalists. You say you have a great idea as a youngster and we'll give you the platform to actually make it happen. I was thinking we can actually get together a few organizations and probably say, bring us an idea. Yeah, you're 16 to 25, you have a great idea around what you want to do for your sibling, bring it to us, and they can be the leader and we can actually provide a platform. Yeah, so this is something I think more than anything I'm proposing. So your thoughts on this, please.
Can I go?
That's a great idea, because I feel that when we look at schools, you define the school by certain activities. I know when it comes to dealing with special children or running a special school, it goes beyond the classroom. Okay? Because then you are looking at parents, you're looking at siblings, or you want to do community awareness and those kind of all of those things. But even to sustain a special school, okay, unless you have a very strong fundraising team, it's very, very difficult, because there's nobody actually giving you money to run the special schools, like, apart from the government, which will give you a little bit, but at least once they commit, they will give you each year. Otherwise you are looking for some kind of a extra support. So for any school to be taking on what is beyond the realm of education, the education means I'm catering to this child and the child's needs. At the most, I may go and say, okay, let us do parental counseling or give parent training. But beyond that, that is not the role of a school, to be doing community awareness or to fight for policies or to be running the sibling program. So it is very hard. That's the reason why some of these things don't have any no space. There's nobody's working in between. Because if we had a strong advocacy group, which we need to do, all of these other kinds of things will fall in place. So for the child, if you look at it, it is the house and it is the school. It's just the two spaces. Even if you look at recreation or sporting activity, largely which has to happen on weekends, there is no support system to ensure that happens, unless again it is the family. Because we've been propagating that children should need to go because they need that exercise and they enjoy doing all of it. But the parent says, look, I get only one Sunday off, and I've got other things that I also need to do. I can't be carting this child every time to go to a swimming program or a running program. So again, then who is going to do? So it's great to bring in siblings. Of course, they will have their own, because their own schooling and others, their own compulsions will be there. But definitely we need to think beyond the school and the family. You need to have the third layer of people. It's the voluntary bodies, it's the other, youth. And I definitely agree, peers can be great ambassadors, because reaching out to the target group of that age group happens much better when there's a youngster speaking than coming to a thing. So I think that is also one of the reasons why these programs have not really taken on, because there's no really body that is looking at. So in a collaborative approach will definitely help.
Yeah.
Can I add a point here?
Yeah, ma'am, go.
I think mainstream schools can pitch in here actually. instead of looking only training the children, sorry to say that without any biases, but I'm just stating the facts. Just training the children to score marks. Along with that, if they can include, sensitizing them, carrying out these kind of awareness programs or buddying with special children as a CSR program of mainstream schools, I think a lot of things can be achieved. So along with training them for their IQ enhancement, they can also start training them for enhancement of the EQ, which is very, very important. I'm sorry to say that the mainstream is somewhere lagging behind when it comes to EQ development of their children. I'm extremely sorry to state this and quote this, but it's a fact which we all need to admit and work towards that. Imagine the number of mainstream schools we have in Bangalore and the ratio of special schools in Bangalore. They can definitely handle the special school issues like this, extra beyond the school purview, whatever the special child needs or the family needs, definitely they can pitch in. And when the special mainstream school gets involved, the student community takes it seriously and the burden on the siblings will reduce. See, a single sibling going and telling that I'm doing this and all, it's wonderful. They do it. At the end of the day, they definitely do it. But if they have the class full of students supporting them because the school wants it to happen, I think the whole, scenario changes. I think I request all the mainstream school people to look at it from that angle. And particularly, I also want to take this opportunity to tell that LD children, please include them in your mainstream sections. They don't belong in special schools at any cost. They're on the threshold. Just because we want to put ranks and marks and percentages on school boards and we push them to special school, which is very, very unfair. Because they can understand what is happening and they know that they are capable, but we forcefully push them to special school environment and it is very unfair. We are damaging the self-esteem just because we want to have the reputation of the well-performing schools. I'm extremely sorry to state this on a platform like this, but I think mainstream schools are not doing the duty of including LD children in their schools and also doing something towards special schools. I think I request all the people who are from the mainstream school background here to look at it and be empathetic towards special schools and the burden special school management is carrying on their shoulders. You can be a part of that.
I'd like to just add a couple of observations here. One about what Jayashree ma'am was saying. So one thing I have noticed is a school providing support to families is almost a conflict. I have seen this in my own clinical practice where I have a child, I have the parents sitting in front of me, and it is my role there, or the role a school plays is to completely focus on the child, right? So the minute the parent expresses some issue, some problem, some support they need, I have to choose as a professional or as a school. We have to say I'm either going to support the child or I'm going to support the parent, because if I start empathizing too much with the parent, probably we allow the child's development to actually lag. I'm saying it's okay for you as a parent to take a step back, and it's not. So I think, in fact, that was one of the intentions with which I started Mitra, saying in the consultation room, my only focus is the child. I cannot empathize with the parent and say, okay, it's all right for you not to do this, So I think schools are very much in the same position. So there is some inherent conflict in playing both these roles. And this is again something that I am looking for Mitra for Life to step into, where if we can provide that support role, if we can, collaborate and say, you focus on the child and we will take on the parent, or, maybe Saarthi can take on the sibling. Again, I think it can come together as a collaboration. And with what Usha ma'am was saying, we have tried in the past, of course, 2019, all the programs we did, we were looking at kicking off a buddy program sort of thing. Again, I believe that it cannot be some idea which is used somewhere else, which is just brought in. It has to be very culturally relevant. It has to be something that makes sense to who we are as a family and and what support is already available. But we did do this. We have done this with college students, what ma'am was mentioning, and it has gone extremely well. We also took it online, and the Mitra socials, we call it, where we have college kids, we have special needs youngsters, and that has gone very well. And we've also seen a shift in the mindset of the youngsters, right? So we were looking at it more at a college level, but also with the sibling conversation we had day before yesterday, we were already thinking, yes, we do need to go into schools. Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, giving a little example about my boys. I mean, it's very easy for us to say, okay, yes, we shouldn't be burdening the siblings, but that is inevitable. It's going to happen anyways, right? That's a fact of life. Like now, my 4-year-old already is playing a second mommy to Haider, my 15-year-old. He exactly knows what I instruct him, how I instruct him. And when I'm not around, or even if I'm in a different room, I hear him speak the same language. Either it's time for you to shut the phone and go eat your food. And it's unbelievable, a 4-year-old saying that to his 16-year-old brother. So the roles are automatically taken over, whether you like it or not, you know. So it because it's all in the family, it's all in the blood. And I think, after the webinar of the siblings that you had, it was so satisfying to see that, the younger generation of siblings has already some solid thoughts out there. They already have a pathway roadmap up there of what they're going to do, of what they're going to be studying into. Yes, of course, the parental guidance, the advice, all that is going to be polishing their thoughts and actions. Like we already have Piyush and Priyanka here, they're already doing their bit for siblings. So I think just putting everything out there and then just flowing with the flow sometimes would really do the trick. Yes, organization like Mitra for Life is already trying hard to bridge that gap of special schools and schools. You already got the thought with you, Madhuri. So I'm sure things will get better. And then and the siblings and the coming generations are going to definitely tap on resources, because each generation is different. We as siblings were totally different than the siblings of today's generation. So they're going to be harping on the resources, the infrastructure, whatever has been provided, and I'm sure they're going to be doing their bit for their special sibling. So I really encourage the thought process of today's generation, and we need more of your tribe.
Thank you. Yes, Akila, you want to say something?
Yeah. So you were talking about what can we, offer to the young siblings to, get more involved, something like a fellowship, where they come up with an idea and then, they can, get the support to implement that. I think that is a fantastic idea. And, please do take it forward. I'm sure, there will be a lot that, like Nishath was saying, they are a new generation. So there's going to be a lot of new things that are going to come out of there that maybe we don't even imagine. As far as the siblings go, they are the ones like for us, disability perhaps came into our lives, somewhere midway through life. But for them, they are born with it. They live with their sibling the longest. They are the people who are there with them the longest. So I think they are one of the major stakeholders. That's something we've got to recognize. And as far as, I must be honest that, I've always, as a parent, and that's as a parent, I would be, I would not want to burden my, neurotypical child with, the responsibilities. But I think that is unfair. That is one learning I came off from after watching that panel, that is something I have no right to do. And it's totally up to the sibling. It's their choice. And I think it is a compulsion for them to be supportive of their sibling, and that's so beautiful. And I do share a very close relationship with my sister, so obviously, who am I to say? And yes, she has a life of her own, and obviously I think the young people here want their life of their own, and they want their sibling also to have a life of their own, and I'm sure they will find the ways to make that happen. I'm quite sure. we just have to step back, be the bridge, be supportive, and have trust. I think, yeah, that's the way to go forward.
Yeah, I think talking about the school point, like regular schools. So somebody in the sibling panel, I think Dia mentioned that we can do role plays in our school to make our friends understand that what is autism, what is Down syndrome, what is cerebral palsy, what is intellectual disability, and stuff like that. So that was a very good idea, and actually it is needed, because many a times like it's kind of bullying. Like it has happened to me. Like they just don't know that it's autism, and they will just blurt out ki अरे ये तो इसका भाई तो पागल है, like he's mad. Like I'm sure many siblings have heard like that. So at that age it's very pinching, like if somebody just comes and tells to you. So yeah, so awareness on that front is something to be explored by the siblings in regular schools. Like siblings taking the initiative to spread the awareness in regular schools about the disability stuff. This is there. And talking about the idea of siblings coming with ideas, yeah, that is a very good idea. Siblings do have a lot of ideas, and many a times they are constrained by either by their own mindset or the mindset that is created in the society, like they are not to be burdened and stuff like that. So yeah, that is a very good idea, and we at Saarthi are like more than happy to work in any sibling area. We are very excited for this.
So one thing I realized at this point in this discussion is that we seriously need to move from my mom knows the best to empowering us as siblings. It is, I think, enough of going on hearing the same thing that, oh, your mom must be knowing this, you ask her. I think from there, I really want to, when I meet other siblings, I feel the more and more we start creating such kind of community groups, we're going to empower siblings. We're going to teach them to be comfortable in their own skin. I think that's very important, because you're constantly burdened with negative thoughts, your self doubt. You're constantly questioning why this has happened to me. So I think we need to move from there, kind of empower them, teach them that it's okay. They need not keep on questioning their circumstances. Be comfortable in your own skin, and instead teach them to engage in designing solutions. I think that is the best way to empower them. And not only solutions for their own siblings, because that would be too selfish. So rather think of the community at large, like for other disabled siblings as well. So, I mean, it is a very common trend these days, something known as impact investing, wherein people have started funding, education initiatives, sustainability initiatives, etc. But I've never seen such a concept coming down to the disability sector. So having, if you have a fund where you're encouraging siblings to come up with their solutions, I think that's wonderful, because they need a platform where they can discuss ideas and structure it. We might not help them run the enterprise as such, but if you can provide them support with, say, marketing, logistics, and small tools, I think that will really help them. And moreover, this is a way to send a message across to the society that it's okay if the typical sibling also opts or decides to be in the disability sector or contribute in the disability sector. There's nothing wrong. I mean, I always listen to parents saying that no, you should have a different life for yourself. You be comfortable. You should go abroad, study. You should do everything good. You need not take up education or disability sector as a profession. So there's nothing wrong in it, and this is a way to do it. Actually, if you start encouraging them to come up with ideas, it'll be wonderful.
Yeah, even like what Priyanka said just now, like I switched my career. Like I'm basically I trained in engineering. I did my MTech in NIT Rourkela. Then I decided, no, I want to really look into the disability space, and what can I do then? So then I switched and like made Saarthi, and then I'll also be joining PhD in disability studies. So for a long time I was in that zone which Priyanka talked कि अरे गलती तो नहीं कर दी मैंने, because just because of people, not because of me. But she knows, like Priyanka knows this fact. but that is the, like, if somebody wants, if a sibling really wants to jump, like, they should be encouraged, and this platform which you're talking about will be the stepping stone for that. So uh, like, it will be good.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, in fact, just taking on what Priyanka shared, Priyanka, I really think that somebody, like the sibling who has been involved and has seen this, seen the issues faced by this family for so many years. I think even if you start with one thing saying, "Arey, I want to change something for my sibling," that itself is a starting point, because if you actually get that ball rolling, it'll change for so many families, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I really believe that you are all the stakeholders. I mean, teenagers, people in their early 20s, you're the ones who are really going to be shaping things for the next 20, 30 years, right? When a lot of us are going to be completely, redundant, if we're around, right? But the thing is, I think it's not, we don't really have to, we should not wait for somebody to be in their 30s, acha career settle kar liya, I've done everything, been there, okay, now I will start looking at this, right?
Right.
The way in all other fields we're looking at, innovation, we're looking at, brilliant ideas being brought out there. I really think we should put something in place, again, as a collaboration, because I don't think any one person will be able to support this. But I also think that it should not just be, we will, provide some fund or a platform for your idea, but also we can all, as a collaboration, take it into action, right? Because a great idea will involve organizations, it'll involve special schools, it'll involve mainstream schools. So it'll, any point, it's going to have to be a holistic solution, right? So if we get these kids together, and I think also provide a network of kids in the similar age group, right? I think that'll really help us start shaping things right now for a couple of decades to come, right?
Definitely. I think I just have a small point to add that many times I've seen homegrown enterprises, like be it baking, be it painting, it's all within the four walls. And probably because of social media right now, we get to see little of it on Facebook or Instagram. But if we can create a platform where we're going to take it up and scale it up, I think nothing like that. That would give them so many opportunities which they are missing out on currently.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a few of the ideas I heard, it was very exciting, you know, because I know for somebody who's worked in this area, and all the seniors will really relate to this. You get to a point where you're saying the change is so slow. I mean, Akila ma'am, Jayashree ma'am, you've all made things happen over the past few decades. I mean, really, if you look at the whole special education system that's there now, which was literally, you've created this, from scratch. I think this is something that, if with considering the support system that needs to fall in place, if we can encourage these youngsters, can definitely really grow. And of course, this whole pandemic situation somewhere, I'm sure, is an opportunity. I mean, just the fact that we all have this platform to come and, speak online. And I think more and more we've connected to families from different cities. The last 6 months, just the connections we've made across India, people reaching out from even tier 2 cities, it's an opportunity somewhere, right? So if we can also capitalize on, like I said, this opportunity, the technology that's available. I mean, so many platforms, or even so many gadget based things which can actually be used very smartly, I think is a lot even for me to think about. But I see, a teenager who will come in and say, why is this not being used by, that certain person? It's just going to make life so much easier, right? And that's, I think, what we're really looking forward to. Yeah. So, and first of all, Saarthi, I think you're doing a great job. It's so lovely to see. You've taken up this initiative. When I was looking through your work, and please do share it with everyone.
Thanks.
Some of the topics they've taken up have been amazing. I mean, I'm really blown away by the work you've all been doing. So again, I would like to say I'd love to look at a collaboration and say, how can we add, create value, or how can we help you create more value. Yeah, and yes, we have about 10 minutes. So any closing comments? What are we, leaving this whole thing with?
For me, I think what is very important is that we look outside of the family and the school, which seems to be the only two spaces for children with special needs. Now we're looking at what's going on within the house, or we're probably looking at what's going on in the school. So all of your therapies and other things. But when you look at the larger picture of encompassing the whole quality of life, if you have to build in recreation, or you build in a hobby, you build in enterprises now, it's I think that's the way we'll have to go, because these students, these children need a whole lot of other platforms to be in, because we all know, all sorts of arts work very well with our kids, but everything again becomes very center based. You're doing a performance within the school, you're inviting only your families, you're doing an art show, which is so, but where is the larger space? So anybody is doing anything in the mainstream, if they are just open doors to include these kids a little bit, it becomes so much more thing. Like somebody else mentioned, we do all our events again, we invite our own people to be part of the events. So that is nothing. So that's where I really like what the youngsters are doing. Piyush and Priyanka, you're bringing in a different perspective, and I think you come from a very powerful space because you're a sibling, and I think your word will carry a lot of weight, and we'll be very happy to work with whatever initiatives you all are looking at.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Any big questions from the audience?
We could. We have about 8 to 10 minutes to wrap up. There is somebody with a question. While we take that, anybody else with closing remarks? Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at all the things that will help through the lifespan of the sibling and the neurotypical person. That I mean, that's the neurotypical and neurodiverse is what we started off with. So one of the thing is if we look at the person with neurodiverse needs, if we can have the sibling involved in creating this what I call the life plan, which includes, as Nishath was saying, life skills, independence, the fitness, and the E is could be the engagement, employment, exploration. These are the things that need to come in, and then of course where they're going to live, community living, and all that. So these are the questions. If they are answered, then it sort of sets the framework in which everything else can happen. So that the being the overall framework that needs to be set, and we have endeavored to do that. And we have I just personally we have some of our students who do say 150 kilometers cycling with a cycling group here. So we've been able to take them from cycling within a community to cycling on the road to and if we had a few siblings involved there, I think that would have made it a whole lot more fun. And I think that's something that I'm going to take away and get more siblings involved in these kind of activities that we're doing, because yeah, that's something. And then going to the person, the sibling themselves, I think they do need a lot of support, mental health support also, right from the beginning. And that is something then an area to work on. I've worked a lot on supporting mothers and parents, and I do run like a counseling group for mothers. But somewhere, if that sort of a thing is available, from Saarthi or something where you know the siblings can get mental health support, because they have a lot of mental health issues right from the beginning. There's anxiety, there's guilt, there's a conflict between the inner disability world and the outer world that they have to put the face to. All those issues came out in the discussion. So I think that's something, an area to really work on. And yeah, and then all the fun things.
So I have a point to add. I think uh, I, over the course of this discussion, it just clicked me now that probably when I think of sibling support after this, I would be reminded of only two terms. One is a sibling support group. We, as a sibling support group, we need to empathize a lot, because that's where we would be able to bring out what's there in their mind, at the same time provide mental support. But it should not stop at that. We need to also provide them tools to empower themselves, like make themselves independent. Although we are a support group, but it cannot be a situation where they keep, turning back to us for every small thing. That kind of dependency should also not get created.
Sure.
So somewhere we need to create that balance, and that's what I could think of. And also thank you for appreciating the content we've put up on Saarthi platforms. I think that there's been a lot of efforts to bring siblings out to even speak what's there in their mind, and that it's that thing, that first step itself was tough, but we're feeling very happy that people are appreciating it. So thank you, and we definitely look forward to collaborate with Mitra. So thank you.
And last one point. As a family counselor and a psychotherapist working with special children, I just want to highlight this, though it is commendable and it's beautiful to see neurotypical children having being there for the special children, and also they develop a lot of wonderful human qualities like acceptance, accommodation, empathizing, everything. It's beautiful. But we should not forget the underlying precursors of their own emotional turmoil, which sometimes gets neglected. Or, I mean, nobody does it intentionally. Even siblings themselves are not aware of that. They have such kind of conflict feelings and thoughts. Somewhere as caretakers, both special schools, counselors, and then the parents should always keep it in mind that these children have their own growing up emotional issues at every stage of their growing up, teenage, adolescence, pre-adolescence, and all. So it should not get mixed up with over parentification of their role. Because sometimes what happens, without even making efforts, we try to fit into the role of parents as neurotypical siblings of special siblings. So parents should take little efforts to segregate that and make them understand it's okay to think about yourself. It is okay, you have a special child, but still you are entitled to have your own life, and I'm okay with that. Because many a times if you don't make it obvious for a neurotypical child, they sometimes overdo things. I have seen that as a family counselor and adolescent counselors, where they come with self-imposed expectations, self-imposed goals to be there for their special sibling at any cost. I don't think so. It is not required. See, we need to make them understand we are here to take care of your special sibling. They need support. They are different, but they can be on their own. And you also have every right to lead your life. Somewhere parents have to do this balancing act. And for that, we all need to support. The school should support, the society should support, and the health practitioners like counselors, they should support. We can never take it for granted. A neurotypical sibling of a family is the second parent for the special sibling. I think somewhere I very strongly want to stress on this point, because many a time they overdo things without even being aware of its repercussions. I don't think we should allow them to do this.
Yeah, I agree with Usha ma'am. Completely I agree. Because like we as siblings feel guilty of taking that job or going abroad for university or going to another city because of that overparenting thing. So that should be avoided definitely. It's a very difficult balance. We ourselves don't know many a times.
Exactly.
When we step into that zone and when we start dictating every minute decisions based upon the fact that we are a sibling. So yeah, so it's definitely a thing, and hence the talk of future planning should be there in the family very early, as in
Exactly.
uh, like like there should be talk between parents and siblings regarding the future planning.
Very much.
Like parents should involve the siblings in future planning discussions. They should not keep them separate. Like, we have chalked out everything, we have decided everything, you need not worry. So do not keep them in dark. Do the discussions. There might be conflicting views. Like we might think that, no, this is the way as sibling will be with us. But parents might think, no, there should be something separate for the siblings, something like that. So talking about the residential part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So sure, there will be conflicts, there will be many things, but it is very important to talk about that plan. Do we have a plan for future? This is the first thing I want to tell. Second thing, regarding when we talk about work is still not defined very well, as in, okay, my brother works, brother makes something art and craft, or somebody is doing bakery or something like that. So it needs to scale up. That is what I feel. So two things are there in future planning. One is the residential, and one is what work they will be doing. So these two things we need to stress upon these things, and also keeping our minds very clear about our roles. And we never know that what life will turn out. It might happen that we might not live in the same city due to circumstances, so we should be prepared. But having those conversations are very important.
Yeah.
So that is what I want to say.
Yeah, I would just like to sum up the 3 days of the webinar that I've been watching and been involved in. Um, Firstly, I would just advise parents to involve the sibling from day one. Not because I heard one of the parents saying that she totally kept away the sibling, saying it's none of your business and it's just I would handle it. And then acceptance of that sibling was so difficult during her teenage years, and then there was guilt, and then all those things. So the more you're going to involve the sibling right from the beginning in their own little way, the easier it's going to be for them to accept, for you to accept, and for the smoothness in accepting the facts and taking joy in living the way it is. The more you're going to be natural about it and the more you're going to be accepting. I know there's a denial phase for every parent. I went through the denial phase. It is very natural. But the awareness is so much now, so many webinars, so much of contact, parent support groups, everything is there. So it's easier for the parent to get over the denial stage and then accept. And then once you accept, automatically the extended family, the siblings, the immediate support system gets sensitized, I would say, to what your child is, and then everything seems to be normal. Even if there's a behavior issue of the child, it seems normal only because you've made the situation normal. So one, yes, please involve the sibling from day one, and they can do wonders. They can all become Priyanka and Piyush when they grow up. And not necessarily, yes, the burden is all yours, no. And then sometimes let go. Then of course, treat the special child uh, most of the time of his biological age, because they have emotions, they have feelings. It's just that they did not express it. So yes, involve them in whatever capacities the child can express. And yes, join a parent sibling group like Saarthi and like Mitra for Life, and and connect with families, special families with similar situations. It makes life so much easier. Just a little time, even if it's once a year, once a week, once a month, or just on weekends, or just your vacation time. It really makes a difference. Have a connect, so that you do not feel alone. And then yes, and the biggest thing that worked for me is the trust in God. After doing everything, every bit of yours, just leave everything up to the Almighty, because special children for me have a great connect with the superpower up there. So I believe in that. They're no filter, pure hearted souls. And yes, they will be taken care of in whatever way the Almighty has planned for them. But yes, do our bit. And then all the very best to all the parents up there. And we're all there. Whenever you need help, do not hesitate. Just reach out for help. It's just a matter of making that effort. everything is out there. Just make that effort. And Autism Society also, I'm representing Autism Society of India. We do our bit for parent empowerment and awareness and advocacy. So whatever little bit we can, if four hands can make a stronger impact, we're always there, with organizations like Mitra for Life, and whatever little way we can, because we all are parents, we all have our hands full. And but putting together something like this, wonderful. Have it more often, and have it on diverse topics. And once again, congratulations to Madhuri for putting up a great show, a wonderful initiative. And yeah, a big thank you, and lots of hugs to all my seniors and to the siblings out there. Yes, you all are heroes. Keep it going. Yes, keep it going, and have the same spirit. You all can do wonders. And a true heart, sincere efforts and determination. Like my dad always presses on the 3 Ds: determination, dedication, and discipline. They will never lose you. They will never let your efforts go waste. So keep on, hang on. Yeah. Thank you very much. It was lovely, wonderful being a part.
Yeah, so we'll wind up. Thank you all so much. It was absolutely lovely. And I think the one thing I want to say is, absolutely fallen in love with the energy of the younger generation. Looking so forward to working with them, and more power to you, all of you siblings out there. We're really looking forward to all the energy you'll bring into changing the future. Yeah, thank you all so much. What a wonderful evening. We'll definitely do this more often, do it on different topics. We'd love to have you all on this forum, and bring together issues and solutions. So thank you all so much. Lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
for having
Madhuri
us.
Thank you,
Bye.
Madhuri.
Thank
Kudos.
and Mitra for Life for
Yes.
having us.
Thank you.
Everybody have a
Kudos
great
to Mitra for connecting all the dots. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Let's
you.
do
Namaste.
let's do bigger things together.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Take care. Yeah.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you,
Bye.
Akila. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Bye.